Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Chat with AP. I'm your host, Amanda Pearch, and fellow curious mind. This is where we kick back, have fun, and dive into all kinds of conversations, whether it's business, life hacks, marketing, podcasting, or just a bit of random banter. Get comfy and let's see where today's chat takes us.
Ooh. That's going to be fun.
I don't know what that is. Somebody's trying to bust through the wall. I don't think I can edit that out either.
I don't think you can either.
It's okay. This is real life, folks. This is real life.
She's going with it.
So we're going with it.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, coffee brain.
Welcome, Sawyer Stromwall, to Chat with AP. So you and I were talking about a day of drinking coffee and brewing a pot. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the intentionality of it, because coffee is something that could be used as a metaphor for life, okay? Mm-hmm. Something that you brew slowly and intentionally, rich and bold, or something that you just grab at McDonald's for $1 on your way to work, and it's just that quick slam, bam, thank you, ma'am. So coffee as it relates to life, the time that it takes to brew, the time that it takes to, what are your thoughts?
Deep question. The first thing that came to mind for me is that I've had different types of coffee in different seasons. And so it's almost like you're going with the rhythm of life. If I'm in a season where I'm like, hey, I'm cranking it out. Like right now I'm drinking an espresso with honey typically. That's like boost, let's go. Mm-hmm. But in other seasons, it might be I'm just going to have a brewed pot going all day, take a sip, sit at my desk, work. So I think some seasons of life, you just need to take a beat and rest. And other seasons, you're going full speed ahead. And it's just the rhythm of it. Not that it's like a work-life balance, but truly just taking every day how it comes and approaching it that way.
Sawyer Stromwall is my guest today, and we are here hanging out in Swanee. She is a creator, she is a mover and a shaker, and she is a young professional whom I greatly admire. I've recently had the opportunity to spend some more time with her as we are in a snapshot group together. Go Eagles. So I wanted to bring her on the show today because she's out there doing fantastic things in the world of marketing, but also to kind of show a peek into the life of a young creator who is a Christ follower too. So welcome to the show, Sawyer.
Thank you, Amanda. I'm so pumped to be here.
Me too.
What a surprise.
I sprung this on her. Okay, so as we were coordinating, I asked her if she was adventurous. And she said yes. So I met her at the coffee shop and then brought her over here to Thrive, where we had the podcast set up. So Sawyer, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself. A microphone is not something that you are a stranger to.
This is true. Yes, I do enjoy songwriting. So that's where the microphone comes in. But some other fun things about me that someone listening may not notice. I have red hair. I'm a natural redhead. I was a homeschooler growing up. My parents, I should say, homeschooled us all the way through. I studied communications in college. I love photography. I love storytelling through the digital space. And I'm a big believer in belonging, cultivating a culture where people feel seen, known, and loved. And I'm a natural encourager. I love just sitting with people and encouraging them. So that's a little bit about me.
You're a good listener too, in my experience.
Great. It's good to hear.
When we are at a table, part of my personality is ADHD, you know, but when I'm with other ADHDers, we just do it and it's okay.
What? Okay, can I ask you a question then? I would love to just for a second talk about ADHD, because I am really not educated well enough in that space. What does that look like for you? What is that?
Sure.
What does support look like?
So I'm self-diagnosed in my late 30s. Medicine is not what it was when I was a child. And I always make age cracks around you because I was your age yesterday, Sawyer, and now I'm 40, okay? But in the 80s, like kids were either put on Ritalin because they were just attention deficit, and my parents would never put me on any medication, and I'm so thankful they didn't. Nor do I think they really wanted to label me as anything, although signs might have been prevalent in school.
Sure.
But at the time, you couldn't really differentiate that from just a hyper kid, like not being able to sit still. Only in my adult research and through EQ and personal development and inner work am I able to understand what a neurodivergent mind is like versus neurotypical. And it also explains a lot of my oddities. Like at home, I'm not like a clean freak or I need to turn the light off like 3 times or something. But there are things that I can't move past if they're not just right. Also in social settings, networking for me is fantastic because you put me in a room with 200 people and I'm having 200 conversations for 2 minutes, and that's great. So really TikTok has been a great resource for me in helping me understand. Really for me, it's identifying it. And I'm like, oh, okay, Amanda, not everybody thinks like that. Slow down. That's kind of how I identify my ADHD. I don't even know if that's really what it is, but I'm going to say I identify with those things within that wheelhouse.
Sure. So for someone like myself, what would it look like for me to speak your language? What's helpful for you in this kind of setting? If I'm totally cool with sitting for an hour and just talking super slow, what would be helpful for you?
I'm going to give you a really weird instance.
Yeah.
Okay. I had this person over to my house for coffee.
Yeah.
And like danishes and stuff. It was just nice. And only when I was in my living room hosting this person for about 2 hours where there was just coffee and crumpets, I was unable to sit still. Like I'm up in the kitchen, like doing, like there's no reason I needed to be doing the things that I was doing. I had company, but I felt compelled to be doing something.
Sure.
Sitting down and having about 5 sips of my coffee and enjoying conversation before I had to get up and reheat my coffee. And then going and sitting back down and then asking them if they wanted a refill. It's just my mind never stops. And it's really a problem when I try to go to sleep. I take GABA and ashwagandha and lavender drenched in it, okay? Just to try and put myself in like a essential oil coma. But my brain never stops. And I used to think it was a curse, but now I just have to figure out how to channel it because it's going to keep moving. If I make it go where I want it to, then I can use it to my advantage.
That's a great way to look at it. That's awesome. Yeah, because speaking of dates, I went out with someone who did share that he had ADHD. And we never really got to that point in the relationship where I asked more about it. So super curious though, because he did take medicine during the day. Towards the evening, if we were on a dinner date, he would say, "Oh, like I can't tell the difference with you." But it was good. He was fun. So that's awesome though. So I feel like probably from what I hear, what's helpful for you is just letting you explore things, being someone who lets you show up how you show up and bounce if you need to bounce, and just
understanding that now that you understand it, so it won't be perceived as so. I mean, there are just certain things that as in this age in life that you're expected to do. Society, there's an expectation of behavior. Okay, so I hate to use the term masking because I don't feel like I have to mask. I am my quirky self, but you have to be able to be. So to answer your question, to just allow me to be me. And now that you have an understanding of the reason behind, that's really cool.
Sweet. I love
Thanks for asking, Sawyer. Sure. Picking your brain about storytelling and about being a creator. What puts you in that frame of mind? I find personally I have more creative days or hours of the day that I'm more creative and I can apply that energy. How do you get into that groove? Do you just wake up in that groove? And how do you maximize your efforts during that time?
That's a great question. I think on the work side of it and the mindset of cranking strategy out, I typically have music going on and I research things. I do research before I dive into actually planning everything. If we're talking the relational side, I want to make sure that I'm in a headspace that's full of curiosity. If I'm not, then this is not the time to be talking, you know? And you can tell, like, if people are checked out, if they're looking at their phone and I'm asking them a question, that's probably not the right setting because I want them to be curious too. So I feel like that's where the healthiest level of collaboration comes from, is we're both in this mindset of meeting each other in the middle or coming up with ideas. And it's just I interned with North Point a couple years ago. I say a couple and then I pause and I remember I'm 27. So a few, like 5 years ago. And they do a great job at diving into temperaments and personalities and understanding who you're working with. And I've heard it described through some members on their staff that you can live in wow, and then you can live in how. And I've really loved that, thinking about different types of meetings. Like, okay, is this a live in wow meeting or is this a live in how meeting? Because I'm the type of person who, if you give me an idea, I can easily start breaking it down. Like, how are we actually going to accomplish this? Strategy, the gears start turning for me. But if someone's like, look, don't break me down. Like, I'm just here to brainstorm. Then that's great. Now I know we're going to live in wow for a minute. So, but I thought that was really helpful.
How versus wow. I have only recently learned in conversation to approach it. And I think I've mentioned it when we are in circles. When someone shares something, to ask them, do they want feedback or do they want you to just listen? Mm-hmm. I'm an out loud processor. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to turn the tables on you.
Love it.
Much like what you just asked me, what is the best way to support you in a setting like that?
So if I'm brainstorming ideas, being someone who is more perfectionistic, what's helpful for me is if someone asks questions that help me explore it a little bit more versus shutting me down with that. That's not going to work. Like, we can't do it. Or even just validation. Validation is a game changer for me. Just tell me you understand me.
Yes.
And then on the living in wow side of it, I think it's similar to validate that what I'm doing is helpful if we're trying to get something done versus oh my gosh, you're so type A, this is stressing me out, So I think it's important to, whether it's me or somebody else, to look at their method as that's truly how their brain is working. So I think it's important to understand who you're working with, because we can so easily just start shutting people down without realizing it if we don't understand who's sitting across from us.
How do you enter a conversation? Because as professionals, we're in so many different settings with so many different varieties of people, all the way from C-suite to our blue collars to creators to, anybody, franchise owners. When you meet somebody and you mentioned, I wrote down respect how their brain works, and you kind of begin that relationship or that conversation, where do you start? And then how do you navigate it from there to get to the point that you just expressed?
I start with just asking them about themselves. People love talking about themselves. All you have to do is ask them, right? So if it's in a business sense, like, what's their vision? Where do they want to grow the business? And then they kind of start giving you the answers that you're looking for in their own way. But if I'm a professional in the marketing realm of things, I can kind of take what they're saying. If it's like, let's say it's a paragraph. They tell me a story in a paragraph. And then I'm highlighting these different words that mean something to me in the marketing sense. And that's how I can guide the rest of the conversation and get what I need to get out of it.
Okay.
If that makes sense at
does.
all.
I'm picturing highlighting very specific things.
I'm visual, so I was like, paragraph, highlight.
So for our listeners that have really no idea what we're talking about and how it relates to you, Scappa is a marketing company. You are a fractional CMO, correct?
Yes.
All right. Tell me a little bit more.
Yes. So the heart behind Scappa for me is really three things. One, I want to be an in your corner type person. For someone who, let's say a CEO who sees the value in marketing, but they don't want to project manage an agency that's redoing their website. They want a middleman that's on their team that understands the vision behind the company, but also can just take the whole website project over. I want to be someone who relieves the CEO of the tasks that they don't want to do, because that will help benefit them professionally and personally. Number 2, I want to be an advocate. I want to be someone who's representing someone else's business and brand well. And lastly, I want to be really a mix between strategy and creative, where we're really helping your brand stand out and scale in a way that's effective. I see a lot of companies that kind of just throw different marketing initiatives out without the strategy and the direction. I'm like, wait, but this would be so much more impactful if you just had a plan. So it's going back to the wow and how idea, it's taking the wow that visionaries often have for their company and pairing it with the how, so then they're actually accomplishing what they want to accomplish.
Pairing the how with the wow. I love that. I could just see your passion behind that as you were sharing that with me and our audience. Something that I share an equal passion for is strategy. As creators, I share that sentiment with you that the messaging can go so much further and have so much more of an impact if you apply strategy. Anybody can throw spaghetti at the wall and a noodle's going to stick.
Yes.
Okay. But like if you just take those same dollars and apply them differently, you can see a different yield. Where did you get bit by the marketing bug? What if there was a wow moment for you that you just knew that this was the direction that you wanted to pursue?
I don't think that there was, if I'm being honest. I grew up being very crafty and entrepreneurial. As a young girl, I had literally an antique desk that took up a quarter of my bedroom. And I had my Barbie register on it. And what I did was I traced the size of the face of the register, like where you punch in, like, oh, Barbie wants this green shirt or whatever it was. I traced that area and I cut out a piece of paper and wrote down like Sawyer's Arts, services and products. And then I taped it on the Barbie register and I would punch in what I was doing. And so I was already like in the business mindset at a very young age.
Barbie
so I think that Barbie business, plug for Barbie. So I think that naturally it's just been refining. It's just been the pruning of what works, what doesn't work for me. What kind of people do I want to work with, and what areas do I want to excel at, and then ditch the rest. So I kind of wish that this was my aha moment and I was a business owner and a marketing guru from that point forward. But really it's just been a evolution. Yeah.
Do you enjoy Mexican food?
I do.
Okay. So do you eat Mexican food around here?
I don't think so. Not really.
Oh my gosh.
I
Okay.
typically explore. Yeah.
Pepe's is a great place here, just locally. So let's pretend we're at Pepe's.
Okay.
And we got queso and we got guac. And then, of
Love
course, salsa comes. What are you dipping your chip in first?
Ooh. Oh, that's hard. I think, dang it. Is it all arriving at the same time?
Yes, it's all at the same time. We have 3 bowls on the table.
I might dip it in cheese and then salsa.
Okay, so you're that guy. You're a contaminator. You're contaminating the salsa with queso.
I would ask, it depends on who I'm with. If I'm with someone, if this is a first date situation, absolutely not. I would pick one. But if this is hey, we've been dating?
Yeah.
Double dipping, for sure.
See, my qualm is not with the double dip. It's with the residual. The cheese that stays in the bowl. I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
When you get it on your chip, it's not like gooey. It's cold and like hard. No bueno. So I'll combat that by getting us our own salsas.
Yeah.
And I too would dip in the cheese first.
Yes.
So with jalapenos, con jalapeno?
Oh, no.
No jalapenos?
Absolutely not.
Oh, get them on the side for me.
Yeah, dude.
Like a little spice. Spice in my life. So we live in a world of impressions, and I think our good friend Joanne recently was asking us about impressions because they're hard to define, and in the world of content creation, they mean something totally different. But when you're responsible for them as a tool of measurement or of validation of your success or as number of eyes or clicks per whatever, I found myself throughout this journey of being a creator really putting a heavy emphasis on the numbers of followers, subscribers, because that is the metric in which I sell for my career, for my profession. However, it's kind of damaging because I live by these numbers and I expect them to be at a certain height. And I very much feel like if I put some messaging out there and I don't yield the numbers, that it falls flat. I say all that to say I found that I put far too much emphasis on validation externally from the world or from a number on LinkedIn or Instagram or YouTube. And it really can do something to you as a person. So what I found, Sawyer, that it did to me is I found that I was seeking validation in all the wrong places. And I know that sounds like some Alanis Morissette song, but truly, I was seeking that feeling of fulfillment or that feeling of high five, chest bump, atta girl from the world. And I just couldn't understand why I wasn't getting it. And only in my walk with Christ was I able to understand that that was all misplaced. The world can never give me that fulfillment or that validation. Only Jesus can.
True.
And now that I understand that, I'm not seeking that validation. I would be remiss if I didn't say, because I am human, I still sell on the numbers. So I'm very much in tune to the followers. But it was something that I had to go through and something that I really just had to understand and continuously remind myself of. So I'm curious, because you too operate in the world of engagement. Has any of what I shared with you, does that resonate with you? Have you experienced anything like that? And how do you find validation knowing that it is not here on earth?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I totally relate. I think too, being, I'll say, a recovering perfectionist, it's one of those things where I am constantly finding myself thinking, was this good enough? Am I good enough? Did I achieve what you wanted me to achieve? So I think that that's just going to be a wrestle for the rest of my life. I think to answer your question about, I would say yes, because it is so centered around performance and something that you've created. And when it's you and I think especially too as an entrepreneur, so much of our business is tied to our identity. And so that just makes it tricky. And not everyone understands that. A marketing coordinator may not understand it in the way that you and I understand it, because it's ours. It's our blood, sweat, and tears. And it's not just the post, if you will, but it's like the years of experience that we've invested into getting to this point where we are the quote professional in this area. So if it flops, it's like, oh shoot, I'm not good enough. So you do have to, I feel like it's a daily practice of separating the two and just reminding yourself who you work for. SCAPA is God's business. It's not my business. What I'm doing is what God wants me to do, right? And if I'm not in this posture of submission where I'm constantly in check with him, then it's going to be a stamp failure, Like, this is, to be yoked with him as a believer, your worldview, how you approach things is naturally going to be different. To be more straightforward with the numbers and how they affect you, I think it's important to remind yourself that things are constantly adjusting. And it's just when you lean into something that didn't fully succeed to the level that you wanted it to succeed, it's showing you that there's opportunity for growth. Like, let's just tweak it and try it a different way. Like, I wrestle with anxiety. And so I'm trying to walk into situations where if I notice I'm getting anxious about something, it's like, okay, why am I getting anxious about this? It's really just my body communicating to me versus this, oh my gosh, I'm weak. I can't handle this. I have to get out of this place, avoid, abort, So yeah, I think there's a strength to leaning into something that feels raw.
Mm-hmm. Well, for those of you listening, if you're in the world of content creation or management or anything, of that sort. I'd be curious to understand if anybody out there wrestles with what we just kind of touched on, validation and maybe gauging your engagement or impressions online. For those listening who are curious about SCAPA, because they want to learn more, they want to connect with you. You are super active on LinkedIn. I love your LinkedIn messaging. How can they connect with you?
Ooh, they can find all the fun SCAPA things at scapaco.com, SKAPACO.com. Blogs, resources, a link to my LinkedIn to get connected. That's where I would send everybody.
Okay, so I'm gonna reset. I'm curious. We are oftentimes placed in unique settings in the world. You walked into a unique setting today and you are rocking and rolling with me on this mic.
Yeah.
What does grace mean to you, Sawyer?
Grace means extending a level of understanding, even if I don't fully understand the situation or why someone is showing up the way that they're showing up.
What does tenacity mean to you?
I think tenacity is about choosing to do something even if you're scared to do it. Just the boldness and the audacity to get something done, to walk through the door.
Yeah, be bold. I like that. Mm-hmm. If you could go back, you mentioned you're 27. If you could go back and tell your 20-year-old self anything, what would it be?
Well, I would say I would just encourage myself to explore more outside of my norm, like to explore the areas. I don't know how to...
Outside of your comfort zone?
Yeah, outside of my comfort zone, but not just like a broad concept of what's in my comfort zone, but even just spaces. Like right now, I'm driving an hour down to the city to go to a young adults. And so if I could go back and tell my 20-year-old self, like, go the extra mile to do something new and to connect with new people and get out of the little bubble of Gwinnett County, honestly.
Yeah. Literally go the extra miles.
Literally go the extra miles.
I love that.
Grab a coffee and go.
Kind of going along with that, I think you and I have talked about this. What gives you life?
I would say my closest friends and family give me life. I'm a big quality time person. And so if you want to hang out, let's just hang out, I'm a part of this group. We call it Joy Group. It's like a small group every Wednesday. And the best way I can summarize it is that it's a mix between theology and neuroscience. We talk about relational skills and brain maturity or emotional maturity, brain health. And we define joy as being glad to be with someone. And I've loved exploring that even more because I can sit with somebody in pain, if they're in pain, if they're grieving or walking through a conflict in life, and I can still experience joy. And in a way, they're experiencing joy because they are glad to be with me, meaning I could be a safe person. So I think for me, I just love being with my people and having conversations and doing crafty things. I recently was hanging out with a friend and she was like, "Do you want to color?" And I was like, "Let's color."
Adult coloring books.
Adult coloring books. It was so fun. Yes.
Okay, so we already hopped in the DeLorean and we went back 7 years. So now we're going to go forward.
Okay.
Let's just round your age up to 30. Now you're my age. You're 40. Tell your 40-year-old self.
40-year-old.
Project.
Oh, gosh.
Futuristic talk to yourself. So talk to your 40-year-old self.
Talk to my 40-year-old self. I'm just going to speak into existence that I will be married and I will have kids. And so I would probably tell myself just to savor that. Like, don't take any part of that for granted because you waited for it. Like, you waited for the right person. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, 40-year-old Sawyer. Okay, so gonna be rocking red.
If we were to touch on my career, I would tell Sawyer at 40 that SCAPA better be running on its own so I could explore other ventures, whether it be music or a merch line or a book. Yeah.
Okay, so we didn't at all get into that, and I'm
Yeah.
curious. Only a couple minutes here.
Yeah.
So you are a singer and a songwriter, and have you been a musician your whole life, or did that passion derive from your time in other states?
So I did play the piano for a season of my childhood. But for me, writing has always been a way that I express myself. My dad has a document hidden somewhere that is a song about a lemon, and it's when I was 3. So I think it's just always been a fun little like, oh, let's sing about whatever. Or even in school, if I needed some little melody to help me remember something for a test, I would do that. But as I've gotten older, I actually, when I was 18, had an opportunity to fly out to LA with a church. They had heard a song that I had written. It was a worship song. It's called Forevermore. And they flew me out to LA. And I think that was the turning point for me, because I got to experience the whole thing, going into a studio, working with producers, being a part of the band, was so fun for me. And then it released 2 years later when I was 20. So that was so fun. But these days, it's just my own stepping outside of worship, just my own storytelling that I share.
You mentioned that you are on Spotify. So how can our listeners find you?
Yes, just search me, Sawyer Stromwall.
All right. Well, I haven't heard anything except for what you just sang on LinkedIn the other day, or you spoke some lyrics, shall I say. And I said, wait a second, I have to check her out.
Yeah. My most popular song is one called Good Cowboy. It's actually a song about rejection, and it just, it's like a narrative of thinking through, where do the good ones go, into the great unknown, because we know we don't belong here. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, feeling rejection. I'm sure all of us have at some point. And so that's the one that I would go to first if you're searching me for the first time. Good Cowboy.
Sawyer, I have enjoyed our time together tremendously.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for moving and shaking with me and giving me space to be me and share my world with you. So, final thought.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it with you.
Ooh, final thought about this podcast.
Anything.
Oh my gosh. Well, one, this is such a gift. I love that you center this around just having a conversation versus anything scripted or a point to ask this question while I was here. I think that sets you apart. That's a very unique approach to podcasting. So thank you for doing that. And even just navigating how I'm receiving things on this end of the table and my emotions. So graceful. Speaking about grace. And yeah, I think that's it. I've enjoyed this. Thank you for bringing me on as a first-time podcaster. Hopefully I would love to be back one day
You're
to talk
welcome
about deeper
anytime.
things. So
Well, I'd like to bring you back on because one thing I'm going to start offering my listeners, while I do provide engaging content and I feel that there is value within our conversations, I'd like them to have something to take away. So being that you are an expert in the marketing world, maybe you'll join me for a specialty segment and we can give our listeners some tools for their box.
let's do it.
All
I'm
right.
down.
Sawyer, don't forget to connect with her on LinkedIn, where she is super active. And you can always connect with me at amandapearch.com. Visit amandapearch.com to learn more about purpose-driven podcasting. Enjoy these outtakes from our interview. Check your levels.
My name is Sawyer. I'm here for the first time. I've never been on a podcast before. You've heard me on your ESPN channels, though.
In Chick-fil-A
In
commercials.
Chick-fil-A commercials.
And Spotify. You better follow her.
Oh, yes. Sawyer Stromwall. Yep.
Aw.
Has Scapa Company. Lots of
What is
S's.
the name? What does Scapa mean? Is it another language? So Scapa.
Scapa.
Is it German?
It's Swedish.
Swedish. Are you Swedish?
Yes. Swedish and Irish.
Okay.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, so Scapa
Yep.
is Swedish
It's
and it means what?
Yes, it means to design, to conceptualize, to create. So my dad actually found it. So props to him for that one.
To design, to create, and what else?
To conceptualize. So I figured for marketing and all the creative things that I'm doing, building from the ground up, that's what I went with.
Plus, do you know what?
What?
It's a good conversation starter.
It is.
Okay, so are we paying royalties to Pops because he came up with the name?
I think so.
As we are sitting here getting the microphones warmed up, we're chopping it up. I am Amanda Pearch, and we are here broadcasting live from Thrive in Swanee. We've got Phoebe at the front desk. We've got Alani walking around. There are no Diet Cokes because there is somebody that steals them all at night, I guess. There's never any Diet Cokes, man. So we can only have full throttle Cokes if we'd like. But right now I'm sipping on an Americano, and it's got lavender syrup in it. And what are you sipping on, Sawyer?
I'm sipping on a hot cappuccino with honey in it.
Now, why did you choose honey instead of sugar? For health reasons?
It feels healthier. Taste? That might be denial. Who knows?
And they made a beautiful little design on the top.
They did.
Of the...
I always feel bad to take a first sip, though. I feel like I should ask a barista. Should I stand there for a minute and really, embrace the moment and the art? Or should I just sip it because they want me to dive into the taste of my cappuccino?
I think they want you to stick your face in it. Yeah. Like you're popping for apple.
You paid for this? Go for it.
It really is an intricate art because I myself have tried to foam milk to that, viscosity and also tried to do a little zhuzh. And I'm unable to recreate their essence.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do it either. I'll froth milk sometimes and just put a little dot on it, try to do a smiley face. It's a disgrace.
No excuses, no shortcuts, just real results. Are you ready? If you're serious about elevating your brand, maximizing your impact, and leveraging podcasting as a power tool for authority and revenue, let's go. Visit amandapearch.com to book a strategy session today. Let's uncover how we can build something unstoppable together.